Hi gang, it's Hexy. Let's back to some first victories. All right, we moved up to battalion rules, and what I want to do here is real quick talk about movement disorder checks and events that happen during your movement, things that you do, i.e., changing formation, crossing certain terrain types, that kind of stuff. You'll be rolling for a disorder check. And I would assume that this accounts for, troops crossing rough terrain or maybe a narrow bridge, getting them out of whack, or expending, you know, too many movement points or more than they could probably handle in a quick march. So I'm going to try to give you an example here and see if we can't account for this. So first thing is when you move, you want to have your card, your Pack 3 card in front of you, which has your penalties, all right, the die roll modifier penalties that you'll accumulate. Now, how does this work? This one here, if when you do roll for your disorder check, according to the rules, if you roll less than your morale, you're going to fail. And you'll become disordered, or you'll increase to the next morale status, okay? If you roll equal to or greater than, actually, let me make sure. If you roll to the less than or equal to your morale value of the top combat unit in the stack fails, and its state will worsen by 1 level. If the modified result is greater than the combat unit's morale value, the unit remains in its present morale state. All right, so let's give you an example because I've really only had one that did it. So these units running away from Rolica, all right, this is actually the second turn. The French got the initiative on this second turn. So, and I'm using the bot, by the way, and I'll try to do some explanation of that. Fortunately, it's simple because as long as everybody's in command of Delaborde, which all his leaders are in command range, you're only going to draw one action card for this type of event. All right. So when you get down to things like fire combat, I believe you'll draw individual cards for each unit that does fire combat. So, but we'll get to that, I'm sure, at a later time. So I want to talk about this first unit right here. So he moved a grand total of I think it's 6. It was 6.5, or his movement allowance is 7. He moved 6.5, 6 3/4. And if you want to see the movement points for in the top of the chart here, it tells you the movement points for the different types of units. So French infantry is 7, French SED infantry is 9. So these guys had 7 movement points. He moved a total, I think it's 6.5 or 6 1/4 or something like that. But on the chart, as you're moving now, for every infraction that would cause a disorder check, you don't roll right there on the spot. You complete your movement, and what you do is you total up the modifiers, and then when you're done with your move, then you're going to roll one time for disorder. All right. So a unit, say a unit that crosses a hexite obstacle like a bridge, okay, or a stream or a ford, or it's nighttime, or if he, like for infantry, if he's in line formation and he moves more than 4 movement points, say he moves for each movement point over 4 in line formation, he's going to get a -5 on the die roll modifier. All right, these guys were in column. I don't see. Well, it looks like column and normal movements. Regardless, it would be -5 for each one. It says here for over 6 in open column. His normal movement allowance is 7. So it would be -5 for that. I don't know. Open column, I'm not sure. I haven't got to that yet. But these guys are in road column, so we'll go with the normal movement allowance of -5 for everything over 6. Okay, so we know he moved over 6 movement points. It wasn't quite 7, but it's still over 6. So he's going to get a -5 die roll modifier for that. He's already in road column, so he's getting a -10 just for being in road column on morale checks, okay? Show you that right there. There's his marker for that. So he's getting a -10 for that. He's got a leader with him, so that's going to add 6. His leader's efficiency or effectiveness is a 6. So what you'll do is since he was in road column and on a road, none of crossing the bridge or the stream here had no effect. He went into the scrub terrain, and you want to look when you look at your chart for. It'll say for crossing for each hexite obstacle cross. Well, on your terrain chart, you'll see that a scrub is not considered hexite obstacle. However, a hex with 2 contour lines is a hex side obstacle, or greater than 2 contour lines is a hex side obstacle. So anything that is 2 or greater contour lines is a hex side obstacle. So for a hex side obstacle, when you look at your chart, you're going to get, where's it at? Got my fingers in the way. You're going to get a hex side obstacle cross is -10. All right, so he crossed this hex right here, has 2 contour lines in it. All right, so he moved into that 2 contour line hex. So now he's going to get that -10 on his die roll modifier. He's going to get another -10 because he's in road column. All right, and he's going to get -5 because he moved 1 point over his movement allowance of 6. So he's going to get -25 on his die roll modifier. Now I've already done this guy. He rolled like a 90 something, so he succeeded. But so like you would roll, and there he rolled a 91. So he was above his morale value, which was a 35. Okay, so 91 minus 25 is what, 76. So I think that's good math. My good West Virginia math. So he easily passed, so he stays in the morale state he was in. If he was disrupted and he passed, he would just stay in his disrupted state, okay? So it seems a little, maybe it's a little tedious, but instead of having to check for each hex that you cross, doing a disorder check for each one, which could just be a nightmare and take all day, you just accumulate the die roll modifiers for whatever infraction or violation they incur while moving. And then once they're done moving, then you do your disorder, your move disorder check, and execute it right there in the hex he's in. And that is the basics of movement disorder checks. And we'll try to do some little odds and ends stuff as we go. All right, but we'll start with that one. Let's get that posted so everybody can understand how that works. There's a lot more you'll read about it in the rules, but that's just the basic explanation using something that was in road column. You change formation. Certain changes of formation are going to cause you look at the top here, all right? If you look at the top of that column, it shows you what events you check for. Formation change, expending too many movement points, crossing a hex side obstacle, entering a second MDT or HDT hex, which does not affect units that are in column or road column, or in road column on a trail. I'll make sure I got that right. Yeah, units in road column. All right, and then you've got failed evolution check, passage of lines for units in line, backup movement. So, if you got a unit in line formation and he moves backwards, or you got units in line formation, one's behind the other, and the one in the back passes through, that's a passage of lines. Okay, so there's different things that you'll have to do your morale check for, your move disorder check, I should say. And you do it when they are done moving, not during the movement for each infraction. You wait, total them up, do it at the end, apply your result if there is one, and you're good to go. Move on to the next thing. All right, let's get this up so y'all can see that. Talk to you soon.